Yo, it's your boy here, of course, the combat consultant, the soundboard god, Jacob Koopman, and I want to talk about Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway. They had an interview with the great Brendan Fitzgerald lasting around 15 minutes, and it was electric, at least on Ilia's end. I want to talk about it. Ilia was fantastic in this interview. He knows so many languages, English, I'm sure, being at least, if not the bottom, towards the bottom of the pile of languages that he knows. With that in mind, he did fantastic here. He came off super charismatic. There were a few moments that I thought he could have done a little bit better, but besides that, the guy was money. He was entertaining. He was making me laugh. You get a sense that he was actually making an effort to build up the fight. I know to him, buying a BMF belt with the millions and millions of dollars I'm sure he's making is not a lot of money, but going that extra distance, buying one and shadowboxing in the middle of an interview, like, this guy is trying to make the lead up to this fight entertaining. I appreciate it. He did the same thing with Volk. The main difference is that with Volk, he wasn't really equipped with the linguistic skills that he has now that we're seeing on display. It was super, super cool, and I was really, really surprised with his jump in English. It's something I know a lot more fans would want, foreign fighters that are big stars to do, and Ilia Topuria is embracing it wholeheartedly. And that's not even to say that learning English is the only way to become a superstar these days, because again, you have guys that haven't learned the language or haven't really learned the language or its intricacies very well, but are still superstars back where they're from, and even here in the States. I feel like it's a nice touch though, and it was cool to see Ilia kind of leaning into it. I saw Guru's video talking about it, and he said he thought that Ilia was kind of positioning himself as this guy that was either going to get absolutely brutally KO'd and put on a when trash talking goes wrong video, or look like the coolest guy imaginable. I don't necessarily even think he's trying to be that polarizing. I think he's confident. I think he enjoys building up fights. He enjoys the limelight. I don't even think the idea of necessarily him getting sparked and looking stupid crosses his mind. I think he's a guy that's thrown himself full force into this and wants to be the superstar that he is, especially over in Spain and in Georgia. It's also interesting to think, just going back to the linguistic thing, that he's probably always been this charismatic in Spanish, and we just never knew about it because we were, for the English-speaking fans primarily of the sport that don't speak any other languages, there was no way we could have possibly known that he would be this charismatic. We knew he was confident. Confidence and charisma don't always necessarily link up and match, but we see now why he has so many followers and why he's such a big deal over in Spain and why he's getting invited into all of these Spanish football arenas. I mean, it's just, he's so ridiculously over the top confident, and I absolutely love it. It's so fun to see someone that is almost bordering on the level of Conor McGregor confidence that we used to see, but with his own touch on it. I know a lot of people talk about Ilia kind of copying Conor in a lot of different ways, but I don't get the same vibe I did from watching the lead up to Conor's fights. I get the idea and the impression that this is Ilia Topuria and it's no one else. And it's his own brand of confidence. And he even talks about that in the interview, right? He's his own brand of fighter. He's been a fan of the sport for such a long time. He's watched all these fighters coming up, and he brings in different aspects of their game. And on the other hand, I mean, Max Holloway, man, I'm a big Max Holloway fan. Probably one of the biggest ones you'll find. He's one of my favorite fighters. I love watching him fight. In this interview, though, I thought he was super duper flat. Maybe something was going on that day. Maybe he was tired from training. I don't know, but the energy level and the charisma level from both guys, it was apparent that there was a big gap between Ilia and Max for whatever reason. Usually Max, I don't think, is known to be a guy that's like going to be overly confident or brash. But this interview, it almost kind of felt like, why is he in there? Why are we watching this if he's not going to? It almost seemed like he was refusing to play that game with Ilia Topuria, which was really, really upsetting for me. He didn't really want to bite on anything. He kept just saying, we're going to see October 26th, buddy. I don't think he brought a whole lot to the interview, which was really frustrating for me as a fan of him and as a guy that wants him to win that fight. I'm never going to say that Max Holloway is not confident in his ability, but the type of answers he was giving, we're going to see. To me, it could be a mixture of things. It could be, again, that he wasn't that interested in building up the fight and just wants to get in there. There's also guys that would say that, I'm sure, when they're less confident and they don't want to make a bold-faced prediction like Ilia does, so that they'll get absolutely demolished online if they lose. Again, though, Max doesn't really strike me as that type of guy, so I think it was just a bad day or an off day for him. But Ilia really seemed to kind of relish more in the moment overall. And you can't even say that Max wasn't playing the game or like refuse, because he said at a certain point in the interview that he knows that Ilia is just trying to sell the fight. It's almost like he's actively not engaging. I mean, the stakes on a fight, I feel like for me as a fan, you have the fight that's the cake. Let's just say like a vanilla frosting cake from Carvel or something. Well, actually, that's probably not that good of a cake. But think about like the top baker in whatever city you're watching this video from making a vanilla cake. That is this Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria fight. The stakes are the cherry on top. One thing that I really liked that Ilia did was he challenged Max to trade in the first 10 seconds like he did in the Justin Gaethje fight.
I challenge you to have that exchange, but in the first 10 seconds of the fight. And you will see what's going to happen. When you face a fighter like me inside the octagon, who brings that technique and that power, you can't do that.
I think those are great stakes. Before I say this, everyone's gonna get really mad at me here. Understand that Ilia Topuria is in another realm from Jake Paul fighting ability-wise. Something that I notice McGregor did, that Jake Paul tries to do in a lot of the fights, it's exactly what Ilia did there, which is putting these small challenges on top of things. Yes, sit and trade with me the first 10 seconds. Then, if Max Holloway declines, he looks a certain type of way, and Ilia gets to look even more confident and put even more stakes into this one. I think stuff like that is just, it elevates a fight like nobody's business. You talk about Khalil Roundtree and Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira challenged him that the first guy that has to shoot a takedown has to donate to charity. They kept that fight standing, and that was a really fun fight. Khalil Roundtree shocked a lot of different people. This is the type of stuff that takes the fight up a notch, that gets people talking, and Ilia Topuria did that perfectly. Max Holloway, again, just wasn't biting on the line, which is sad, man. It's sad. Like, I want to see this fight get millions and millions of fucking hits online, man. I want to see it. I think this has potential to be such a fun fight. I think it's a shoo-in to be a fun fight, right? Whether it's an early stoppage or you know, it goes 4 or 5 rounds, doesn't matter. This fight will be amazing. Because regardless of how little Max is giving in the pre-fight build-up, you know he's going to come to fight come fight time and when they close those octagon doors. So that's something that we can rest assured on. But yeah, I really love these interviews. I think with the right names and the right conditions, this could be a really fun staple that we do with some of the UFC fights. Shouldn't be all of them. We shouldn't give these out willy-nilly. It should be very sparingly, but if they want to keep doing this, perhaps some ones in person. More of these would be fantastic because that's one of the things that I think boxing does a little bit better than MMA is just giving better promos and lead-ups. Well, again, albeit with Saudi's help with the Riyadh season, but still, I mean, that's something currently that we could improve upon. We already have the product in the cage to make things wild, right? You never quite know what you're going to expect going into a UFC pay-per-view. And so, again, the same thing with a fight, adding extra stakes, adding seasoning, a little Creole sauce on top of each of these events, I feel like would only help. Well, without further ado, that has been the episode for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It has been your boy, the combat consultant, the soundboard god, Jacob Cooperman. And I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.